Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Time About the Movies. It's the weekend of August 16th, 1989, and you're probably wondering what's going on with this camera angle and the light. Well, if you didn't hear yesterday, I was just not in a real good mood. My old TV went out, so we got a new one today. We plugged it in. Unfortunately, the plug where I usually use my light equipment, the plug is way deep back beneath the dresser and the computer table here, so fortunately, I'm not able to use that. I'm actually using the lamp up here that I have. So, still kind of tinkering a little bit here, but it's definitely looking better than yesterday, I would say. But let's go ahead and get on to the first movie, because we've got 7 movies to look at today. And we're going to start off with John Candy and yet another one of his comedy classics, and that is Uncle Buck.
Where do you live?
In the city.
You have a house?
Apartment.
On a rent?
Rent.
What do you do for a living?
Lots of things.
Where's your office?
I don't have one.
How come?
I don't need one.
Where's your wife?
Don't have one.
How come?
It's a long story.
Do you have kids?
No, I don't.
How come?
It's an even longer story.
Are you my dad's brother?
I'm your dad's brother, all right.
He's John Candy as Uncle Buck.
What does he like to drink? I've been leaving the toilet seats up. Is that what the blue water is? It's not good for him, huh?
So Uncle Buck is, of course, the third film that John Hughes and John Candy have done together. Of course, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, The Great Outdoors, and now this. And while this isn't certainly as good as Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which I think is a comedy masterpiece, it's a little bit better than The Great Outdoors. And I like The Great Outdoors, but Uncle Buck is just a great movie. I really enjoy this movie a lot. John Candy works very well here. You also have Amy Madigan in this. You also have Jean Louisa Kelly, who would later go on to star in the show Yes Dear. Gabby Hoffman, who we would later see in shows such as Girls and Transparent. And a young little boy named Macaulay Culkin, who went on to work with John Hughes again on a bigger, more grander size hit. But we'll get to that when we get to 1990, and I think you all know what I'm talking about. But everybody here works really well here. I like the comedy. I like the dynamics they have here, and it's just a funny movie. It's another funny movie from John Candy when he was at his true peak. I mean, this is really good stuff here. It's a great comedy, great family film, great cast all around. John Candy is great. The situations are great. It's just a great movie, like I said. So many memorable lines, so many memorable moments. Not much more to say about that one. Uncle Buck, it's a comedy classic. Need I say more? So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is...
From the director and the producer of The Untouchables.
Hey, Sarge, you gotta give me a minute here on this thing we're doing. I don't want nothing but charming people around me on this one, gentlemen, so bring your good luck stuff. Like this, Sarge? This is nuts. We ain't supposed to be doing this. Everybody else is up for this. This is kidnapping, ain't it, Sarge?
Be advised, you best just relax and try to forget about this thing.
No!
Is that clear?
Yeah, you got a weapon. We all got weapons. Anybody can blow anybody away, which is the way it ought to be. Always.
Military court-martials are notoriously lenient.
My job, so, was to kill communist aggressors, count the bodies.
Even if these 4 guys get convicted, they're not going to do any real time.
You throw guys like us in the stockade, and you're helping nobody but the Viet Cong.
If I was them, I'd be looking for a little payback.
Somebody stumbles. They don't mean to shoot you. They're sorry. You could get killed real easy.
Now, a man like you, wife, baby daughter, I'd be considering those factors very carefully.
You don't have to try and kill me, man. I told them. And they don't care! Just because each of us might be blown away, everybody's acting like we can do anything, man. You think you're standing up to me? Ah! Probably like the Army, don't you, Erickson? This ain't the Army, Sarge.
Michael J. Fox, Sean Penn, Casualties of War.
Casualties of War, which is a Vietnam film that takes place in the 60s, stars Michael J. Fox and Sean Penn, directed by Brian De Palma, who had just come off of The Untouchables. And It's a very underrated movie. I know Platoon was a big move, was the biggest Vietnam film that came out at the time. Took a lot of the attention away from other movies that were trying to be like this. But Casualties of War is a very underrated movie, and it's largely because of the great performances by Michael J. Fox and Sean Penn. They're very good in this movie. The dramatic elements in here are very good. The acting is very well done. The writing here is pretty good too. And it's a very underrated movie. I don't think a lot of people really talk about this movie all that much. Was it a big hit? No, it wasn't a big hit. I'm looking right here at the Wikipedia page. It didn't do so well at the box office, but it did do well with critics. And it's really one of those things. It's really one of those movies that really is a movie that I think gets better and better with time. It's a movie that I think gets a whole lot better with time. And I think a lot of people have really come around to it. Phenomenal movie, great underrated film. If you haven't seen Casualties of War yet, I highly recommend checking it out. It's a really good movie that a lot of people really unfortunately have not seen. And speaking of movies that people have not seen before, you probably didn't know there was another Disney live-action film that came out in 1989, and that was Cheetah.
They're thousands of miles from their home, and they're headed into the unknown wilds of Africa.
This is totally insane. We are 2 kids from LA, about to spend 2 days walking through the uncharted wilderness where animals eat kids from LA.
Their mission, a daring rescue.
Duma!
Their only ally, a half-pint hero named Morocco.
We have a saying, trouble does not ring a bell.
Their chances for making it as remote as the land itself.
Look out!
Maybe you need some help.
Stop him! Boy, do we need some help.
In the great Disney tradition comes a story of friendship, courage, and survival.
You expect us to eat termites?
They're not even dead yet.
A breathtaking new adventure
We gotta save Duma.
that'll take you into the very heart of the African wilderness.
Duma!
Walt Disney Pictures, Cheetah and Friends.
So Cheetah is a live action adventure film, very reminiscent of what Disney used to do with the nature films, but this is more of a written narrative. And not a whole lot of people really talk about this movie, and it's not that it's a bad movie, it's just kind of forgettable. I mean, there's only one real thing that makes this movie stand out compared to other movies, and that's the fact that this was actually the first movie from Disney to use the phrase Hakuna Matata. Of course, Hakuna Matata is associated with The Lion King, but they use this line in this movie. If that's really the best you can say about this movie, then there's not really a whole lot you can say there. It's not, like I said, it's not a bad movie. It's just mostly forgettable. Some of the animal sequences I think are well done, but I think this just needed a bigger narrative to really get this going. So, Cheetah, okay movie, not really memorable, but it's there. It came out this weekend, so let's go ahead and move on to another movie, which a lot of people really forget about, but it's notable for one reason. It's called Let It Ride, starring Richard Dreyfuss.
Excuse me, I'm taking a survey. What do you like?
Horse number 2.
No, 4. The one horse.
I always pick on 5.
Up yours. Thank you.
Richard Dreyfuss is Jay Trotter, a man with nothing to lose,
Finish with that. Knock yourself out, pal.
but an uninterrupted losing streak.
I don't deserve this anguish.
There's a horse in the 3rd race.
The man just said that the only way this horse can lose is if lightning strikes. What do you like? You like the odds on lightning?
I mean, really, I don't see why you people can't just watch the horses run around the track and not bet on them.
Just let me win this one.
Some people like to rub me for luck.
I'll do.
But what's happening to him today
My God, Trotter, you won!
is one
I can't believe it!
for the books.
Congratulations. You might be walking around lucky and not even know it.
$2,450.
I'm rich.
Give me the money.
Because when Jay Trotter wins,
What do you like in the 3rd, huh?
he takes the world
7 horse.
along for the ride. Like him, Richard Dreyfuss.
God likes me! He really, really likes me!
David Johansen.
I can't stand so it's mine!
Terry Garr.
Sorry, Mike.
Jennifer Tilly.
This is what life is all about. Fun, if you know what I mean.
Jockey's high on. He's probably trying to get off. One more word, I'll kill you. Get glued together. I could lose. Come on. Oh, I thought we had a deal.
Let It Ride.
Now, the one thing that's noticeable about Let It Ride is that the director of this movie, Joe Pytka, also went on to direct Space Jam. This is one of his only 2 movies that he directed in terms of feature films. He is actually he actually directed a documentary that came out 2 years prior to this, but this was one of the 2 movies that came out. This is one of the 2 movies that came out that he directed. And it's mostly forgettable, too. Like, it's one of those movies that not a whole lot of people talk about, even though it's got a great cast: Richard Dreyfuss, David Johansen, Terry Garr. It has a concept that could be funny, but it's mostly just forgettable, and I think a lot of people really did forget about it. I just don't think the script really did a good job of really emphasizing what could the great comedy that you could have had with this. I think there could have been a lot better comedic elements that you could have thrown into this. And I think Richard Dreyfuss can be very funny. He could be a very funny comic actor. And he's also a very good dramatic actor, too. But most of the stuff that's in here is kind of formulaic. You can kind of predict what's going to happen. And this movie just made horse racing kind of boring. I mean, horse racing pretty much is kind of boring. I'm sorry, I'm not a big fan of the Kentucky Derby. I mean, once you see horses go around the racetrack, it's not really all that exciting as much as people want you to think it is. At least in my opinion. I know there's a lot of people who like horse riding and horse racing, but that's just my opinion. I mean, maybe that's why I didn't like this movie so much. It's one that instantly is forgettable right away, so that's my thoughts on Let It Ride. Mostly forgettable. Let's go ahead and move on to the next film, Cheech Marin in Rude Awakening.
Brighter, it may be dim, but it never goes out.
My name is Brubaker. I'm from the Justice Department.
That was a federal pig. He's looking for you and Jesus, and he says he's coming back.
Okay, let's split.
In 1969, Fred and Jesus had to pack up their dreams of a better world and drop out of sight. Now they're back to give peace a chance. One more time. Boy, are they in for a rude awakening.
You've been gone 20 years, and you still look like dirty, filthy hippies.
Boy, stool, any blood.
Who are these people?
Guys, am I in any danger?
From the producer of Trading Places comes Rude Awakening. The LA Times says some of the funniest and most inspiring comic moments of any picture released this year. And 6-foot 3D standees.
Wow, Jesus, look at us, man.
Sure to make Rude Awakening the best comedy runner.
Did you like the movie, son?
You missed everything. Watergate, Ford, Carter, the hostage crisis, Jonestown, 3 Mile Island. All in the Family, Nash, Maud, Mary Hartman.
Great cast in this movie. Cheech Marin, Eric Roberts, Julie Haggerty, Robert Carradine, Cindy Williams, Tom Sizemore, Andrea Martin, Raydon Chung, Louise Lasser. Great cast in a movie that a lot of people didn't like. I mean, for the little bit I've seen from this movie, I can kind of see why. They have a good idea here, but unfortunately, like so many other movies that try to be like this, it just doesn't really work all that well. I don't think the comedy is as well written as I think they're trying to make it. So, yeah, it's another one of those movies that has a good concept, but unfortunately, there's just nothing there to make it funny. The script is not really that good. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense, even though one of the writers on this is Richard LaGravenese, who went on to become a writer for several Oscar-nominated and winning movies. But other than that, though, yeah, it's a forgettable movie. Like, I didn't even know what it was until I actually saw the little bit of footage that I saw. But that's Rude Awakening. And now let's head on to the last movie, and that is Eddie and the Cruisers 2.
Greatest rock and roll legends of all time, Eddie Wilson of Eddie and the Cruisers is back. 20 years ago, he mysteriously disappeared. What really happened to Eddie Wilson?
Eddie Wilson was it.
Now, you all know that Eddie Wilson is the greatest, right?
You've got one chance left to prove that the music is there for you, and that chance is tonight.
Maybe this time we can get it right.
It's the rock and roll movie event of the year. Eddie Wilson is back. The legend, the music, the man. Eddie and the Cruisers 2. Eddie Lives.
Who was asking for a sequel to Eddie and the Cruisers 2? I mean, the first Eddie and the Cruisers was not a big hit, and it only found a little bit of an audience after HBO started playing it on TV. But other than that, though, I hardly ever hear any people really talk about the first Eddie and the Cruisers, or this film in particular. And after seeing the little bit I've seen, I can kind of see why. It looks basically like a generic rock movie that is trying to have this message about selling out and just playing for the love of the music, man. But I mean, I just don't think it's really all that exciting, really. I mean, maybe like I said, maybe there are people that like this movie, but when I watched it, I was just kind of like, okay, what's the purpose here? And it's just like, I don't know. I just couldn't get into it, honestly. I know some people they obviously had some people who wanted to see the continuation of this because because it did well enough on cable to get a sequel, and like I said, I can't really figure out why. There's nothing really about this movie that works for me, especially since I've seen this story done a whole lot better. But yeah, that's all I gotta say on Eddie and the Cruisers 2. It's there, it exists. Somebody out there likes it. They made a sequel for it, and that's the end result. And with that said, that's going to wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. Next time around, we wrap up the month of August. We've got 7 more movies to look at. The Package, Millennium, the only is Wire, the John Belushi biopic, which was, I can already tell you, is not very good. The Adventures of Milo and Otis, Heart of Dixie, Cookie, Little Monsters, and Romero. And then that'll probably be the last one for this week because, of course, I have Steel City Con coming up. We got to get ready for that on Thursday, and I won't be done until Sunday night. So you probably won't see another episode after that until after that. So anyway, thank you guys for watching, and as always, if you want to see more videos like this, check out the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. Hopefully, this angle works a little bit better, and the lighting here works a lot better than yesterday. I got to work with what I can work here. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the next video, and until then, take care.